People First Podcast, welcome back. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Again, Otto, this stuff doesn't happen without you, so thanks for being in the background making shit happen. Manny, we're talking about the Construction Life Studio because this is where it all happens. Nancy's here today with us, and it's about partnerships. It's about how human beings interact with each other. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for Manny, and thank goodness for the Construction Life and the studio and the opportunities. And I want to just hang out there for a moment, because I think it's misunderstood, is especially whether we talk business, whether we talk life, there's this competitive nature that occurs. Like, I can't do that, or I choose not to do that because, it's my competition. And I dig into this. So what happens when you align with the right people? Anyhow, folks, this doesn't happen without you guys, so thanks. Nancy Theriault, honor, pleasure. You are amazing and patient, because this was like 3 or 4 months in the making, so I appreciate you for that.
No worries at all. It's a pleasure to be here.
This is exciting for me. I've been talking about this for a while, and I was telling our children today that we were going to have this conversation because it affects them so much, and I'm just trying to push start here. So there we go. So I keep an eye on time. Mm-hmm. Anyhow, there's so much about you that I want our audience to know, and yet I like to start off with a very random, unorthodox question, sort of designed to sort of trigger some thinking patterns. So buckle up. Are you ready for this one?
Oh, yeah.
Here's the question for you. I want you to envision this. You're in a boardroom and heavy meetings happening, and all of a sudden door swings open and in runs this ostrich. He's wearing a sombrero, and he's singing, he's dancing. What's the first thing he says to you, and why is he there?
He's singing and dancing, and what's the first thing he says to me? I have no idea. Like, that you got me stumped on. An ostrich. Like, that's...
With a sombrero, by the way.
Yeah.
You can have little hands and maracas if you like.
Geez, what is he going to say to me? I don't know. Let's go party.
Let's go party, see?
Yeah. That's what it sounds like with the sombrero, and he comes running in. Sounds like a good time to me.
There we go. See, this is why it's fun.
Yeah.
This is why it's fun. Oh, thank you. I just took a deep breath. I laughed. It's not about me. It's about you.
No.
Tell us who you are as a human being. Why are you here?
Well, I firstborn generation to Portuguese parents. They came here in the 60s to find a better life, like most immigrants do. And yeah, I mean, I am, I try to look up to them and be a better person in terms of my professional life and family life.
Sure.
Yeah, and that's, I try to be a trustworthy person professionally and, compassionate, trustworthy.
Can I go deeper on this one?
Absolutely.
Maybe I'll reframe it for you. I want to picture this. An alien, if aliens exist, an alien says to you, what is your purpose? Why the hell are you here on Earth? How do you respond to that?
Well, I don't have an answer to that, but what I do see is, I have a family, and I'm here to support them and raise the kids to be a better version of myself, and give them, a quality life. That's what I take out of that.
Thank you. And so let's pivot there. Let's talk family for a second.
Yeah.
Right? Tell us a little bit about your family. As much as you, I know a little bit, and it's not fair for me to volley that over. So share as much as you wish to share.
Okay. So extended family, like parents, my brother, we run a family business. I was raised in the business. It's not something new. We're a very tight-knit family. We have to be to make that work. It's just something I've always known. And I've grown up that way, right?
Okay, so let's slow down.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the family business. What is it?
So we're in window manufacturing. My father started the business in the early 80s. Had a small place at Lake Weston and Finch area. My mom became involved too in the business. In the 90s, it grew. My brother became involved once he finished school. Business started booming related to like vinyl windows. My dad started off making aluminum windows, low-rise buildings and stuff like that. Then, it started growing. We expanded our business over to extruding. So now we were extruding vinyl and building windows. We needed a bigger facility. Later on in the 90s, I finished school. I also was given the opportunity to join the family business, and that's where I decided to jump in, and here we are today.
Okay, so you skimmed over a lot of that.
That's just in a nutshell.
Can I unpack some of that?
Absolutely, yeah.
So first of all, I think these are proud moments. Like this is generations deep. So let's acknowledge the business, window seal, right? And how do people find out about window seals? At windowseal.ca?
Yeah.
So windowseal.ca is where people dig into that. But get a little bit granular. It started with extrusions and then glazing came in, or was it all together?
To build the product, you would need a supplier for the glazing part of it. It wasn't until late 90s that we began manufacturing insulated glass units. Like right now, we do pretty much everything under one roof. We extrude, we fabricate the windows, we assemble everything, we make the glass. Like the actual glass is delivered to us in sheets, and we seal them and put it all together, basically. So,
and from there, it doesn't go to the end user. It goes to a distributor.
We have dealers that will order the windows. Everything is custom made.
Sure.
Like every window is just very technical in terms of options and sizes. And then it gets. We have dealers that pick up and then end up installing the windows at the end user, the homeowner.
So it's residential.
It is all residential, yeah.
All residential. Wow.
Yeah. And it's all residential replacement, so it's not new construction.
Got it.
So the grading of the windows is slightly different, right? It's not the same as you would as if you were buying a brand new house. Just
okay. Ignorant question coming your way. How do you sustain all this? Like that's the window market to me, especially retrofits.
Yeah.
That we're talking about. It's not an easy market. So what have you learned over the decades of being involved in it that creates sustainability?
We try to be unique. We try to be different than everyone. We run a very tight ship. We don't have different departments running, marketing or accounts payable or accounts receivable. Like that's all handled within us in the office. We don't do a lot of advertising. We don't have a lot of overhead. Everything is what you see is what you get, basically. And just that's how we handle everything within.
Did you know that you were going to get, like, at some point in time, did you know that I'm going to get in the family business? Or was it always
I always knew it was there as an option.
Sure.
But it wasn't something that I was hoping to get into.
Oh, so
I kind of wanted to do post-secondary and just take some courses. And it wasn't even business courses. I was hoping to, venture into maybe pharmaceuticals or just, something different. But then life changes, right? And my brother just had his first child. My mom offered to look after the child, so now that removes her from the business, and that gave me an opportunity to come in and, handle some of the computer work and stuff like that. So, and I grew up in the summer working there.
Of course.
That was always a thing for me, especially in high school, right? I mean, what do kids in high school do when they're not working? They're sitting at home. So I had the opportunity to actually learn the business too and work. And
doesn't mean you enjoyed it though. That's why I asked the question, right?
No. I mean, what 15, 16-year-old kid enjoys going to work at 7:30 in the morning and coming home at 5, and all your friends are at movies and having a great time at birthday parties, whatever, right? I miss that stuff, but at the same time, that just makes me who I am. Right?
Okay, so let's just pump the brakes here. What do you share with folks out there in their, who have those opportunities at 15, 16, 14 to, 13 to 20 to get in those opportunities? Because I can relate to you and say that there was times where I just hated it, right?
Yeah.
But what did you learn through that period of time, looking back now, to share?
You just learn so much being hands-on. You learn the business, even if it's not something that you want to do. It's always, learning is just so, it's valuable. It's something that you can always apply later on in life.
Okay.
The responsibility of having to get up 7:30 to be at work on time and just other people are relying on your job to get other things done. Just it's just life lessons, really. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. And now, fast forwarding, right? You've got a family of your own. You've lived it. You've been in it your entire life. What's it really like? Family-run business. What's it really like that?
It has its challenges at times. There's no way of sugarcoating this. It's great to have your family there to rely on if you're taking a vacation. Let's say there's someone that stays back to look after and someone you can trust. The downside to it, and there are many. When something goes wrong in the business and things happen, there's, mistakes. Like, mistakes could cost thousands of dollars, right?
Sure.
When mistakes happen or, shit hits the fan, I have to take some of the blame of it, right?
Course.
But I have to remember now, at the end of the day, this is business, and I have to separate business from my personal life. On the weekend or at Thanksgiving or at Christmas, I'm still seeing my family. I'm still seeing my brother and his family. I'm not letting that, although we had a disagreement or a big problem, then, that stays at work. That can't be brought home. Another downside too, I see a lot of this, a lot of families go away for Christmas break.
Right.
Extended families, they take their parents and siblings. Like, we're not able to just drop and go, as a business owner. We just can't, I can't just go to my brother and say, hey, let's go to Jamaica for a week in March. It doesn't happen. Somebody has to stay behind to run the business. It's, so little luxuries like that don't really let us, or don't let us live life like a normal family would, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does, because I think there's a misconception out there that, hey, owning your own business is like, rainbows, butterflies, unicorns, is magical. All this shit is great, and you're really unpacking something here.
Yeah.
That is
A lot of people think it's glamorous and you could do whatever you like. No, I really can't. Like, my responsibility is I need to be there, especially in the manufacturing and being like how much I deal with in terms of the customers and even production. Like, I need to be on site. I can't work remotely. That was never an option for me, right? Especially during COVID and whatnot. So, yeah, being hands-on is very important for family business. If you're not there, the business won't run. Like that, plain and simple. Like, it's not a joke.
Got it. I'm curious. I want to come back to something you said that sort of struck a nerve. when shit hits the fan, when stuff goes sideways at
Yeah.
business, and let's just, I'm going to paraphrase here, or use a metaphors. Something happens and you're pissed off at your brother for some reason. Something happens. And then, by the way, shit, I got to see him tomorrow because it's Thanksgiving. You talk about the separation. What's, hey, I can't let that affect me. Except, I'm having a tough time processing because it does. Because I'm like, fuck, man. Holy shit. This really affected us business-wise, and it's less than 12 hours later. So what do you share with folks out there? How do you purposefully do that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just something that over the years, you just have to let it go. It's
Let it go.
Yeah, you just really have to. At the end of the day, you have a life to live, right? It's not all about business. Your business is your 9 to 5. Like, I mean, in our case, it's not 9 to 5. It's more like a 24-hour thing. But once we leave and close up the doors and go home to our families, you got to leave that stuff behind you.
Okay, quite more questions coming your way. And I don't know your relationship with your brother, how close or not close you were growing up and are now. So maybe you can unpack some of that if you choose to. But what's buzzing around, was there ever moments where things got to the point where we had to sit down and say, here's the boundaries and expectations of like, look, we'll deal with this on Monday. We're going to hang out Saturday, Sunday, and not talk about shit. Has that ever occurred?
No, it's just known, actually. We know that, okay, Friday, big problems, we'll deal with whatever it is on Monday. It's just the nature of the business. If it's not something you can't control, why let it bother you over the weekend? I mean, yeah, of course, it's always on the back of our minds because it's our business, right? We know Sunday, geez, tomorrow I got to deal with this problem. So
but even if you get an email that comes, right, I mean, connectivity, right? You get an email that comes through, it's going to trigger you on the weekend. How do you deal with that?
You got to disconnect. I mean, that's all it is. If you want to let it bother you, yes, you open that email and you let it fester and bother you. Otherwise, don't even go there. It's not going to change the end result. Monday still will come. Monday still will. Your problem will still be there on Monday. By having to deal with something on Sunday, it doesn't necessarily mean by the time you go into the office on Monday, it's going to be resolved. And usually it's not the case.
This is why I laugh, right? Like, I want folks to get that. It makes no difference. Whether you respond on a Saturday or a Sunday, it makes no difference.
Yeah.
And you're talking about something that's extreme, which is self-awareness. The conscious decision to say, you know what? Friday was Friday. That shit pile is still going to be there Monday morning. So we have to consciously choose how we want to show up. Do I want to let that bleed into the rest of my life or not?
Yeah. So that's a huge part with owning a family business is just a separation of, there will be problems, there will be headaches, there will be disagreements. All that stuff is going to happen. And you got to be able, and I'm fortunate enough that my brother thinks the same way. And, we could yell at each other but at the end of the day, we understand that, his frustration is because of this. And maybe if I screwed something up, then I know for next time what his expectation is, or vice versa, right? So.
I'm curious, like, you know your brother well. You spent a lot of time with him. Mm-hmm. Do you, what happens? So something he does. Let's just. I'm going to create this picture that's totally artificial. Let's say he does something and he just totally pisses you off, right? He struck a chord and you're like, you're such an asshole, right? What happens? Like, do you have an understanding on when he says something? You actually understand what's going on. How have you guys dealt with conflict? How have you dealt with conflict?
We address it. You can't sweep it under the rug. If it's something that, especially business related, it affects the customer. So our job is to make sure our customers are happy, or they will leave. I mean, it's plain and simple. And if he's pissed off or whatever, something went drastically wrong, it needs to be addressed. I drop everything to address that problem, to make sure that the customer has the least effect possible, right? A lot of times, if it's a mistake with a job, windows are ordered the wrong color, or, I mean, and that's a major thing, because that affects an entire job, which, $20,000-$30,000 worth of windows.
Sure.
Thankfully, knock on wood, it doesn't happen often. But if it does happen, we drop everything and have that issue corrected, because our customer now has a due date for that job. That job's being installed. All the windows are the wrong color. So how is he going to tell the homeowner now the manufacturer screwed up? So yeah, it's just drop everything and fix that problem.
Okay. So now, huge problem, right? Mm-hmm. Let's just stick on that number, $30,000 screw up. What do you do to truly connect with people? How do you connect?
Well, with regards to an error to that magnitude, we call them up and say, hey, listen, this is what happened. If it's my mistake, I take blame for it. Sure. I'll say, hey, you know what? I don't know. I entered it the wrong color. I didn't double check my work. So, we're going to have to now put a stop to this, get this fixed for you to hopefully have it delivered on time. And a lot of times we need extra time. It's, if jobs are if we realize a mistake and they're being installed next week, we can't turn around windows that quickly. So I asked them, is there any way you can give us a little bit more time to see if we can, pull this off for you? It's our mistake, clearly. What can you do to help us out? So it's all communication, and that's how we need to relate to our customer. We wouldn't just say, hey, listen, you know what? Another thing too is that we wouldn't say the windows are wrong. Sorry, let's just reorder them. We stop everything and get it resolved the moment we find out. A lot of times, and I've heard this with our customers, they'll pick up a job at another location, another manufacturer, and when they get there, it's the wrong color. So unfortunately, it could happen that way, but we have sources in place that will prevent that. And we know before the job is picked up that something went wrong with it.
But this is truly connecting with people. When you're describing this, it's humbling, right? You're looking in the mirror. You're taking accountability, right? Accountability for me is take responsibility for the things you do, say, or allow to occur.
We have to, yeah.
That's what it is to be a human being. Shit happens.
Yeah.
Nobody likes errors.
No. And we don't want to screw over our customers either. We don't want them picking up a job and it's all wrong like that. It's a shit show for them when they get to the homeowners, the homeowner, and they unpack the windows and they're looking at it. And then, meanwhile, we just try to correct everything before it leaves the factory, so no one has to deal with that. And that's just our way of connecting. And honestly, like, this isn't even a common thing, but it was something that happened way back when, we were smaller and we had to control things a little bit. We have things in place now that prevent mistakes like that, but it's just experiences, and we learn from it. We move on to be better.
How do you stay grounded through all this? You're talking today. You're calm. You're humbled. And the Nancy I know is full of energy. You're most times you're always smiling. Like, this is really cool.
Yeah. What
do you do to stay grounded?
Well, personally, it's just taking care of yourself, taking care of mental health, your physical health. Exercise plays a huge role, being active.
Sure.
Downtime with the family, cottage life, vacations, and stuff like that, whenever possible. That's how we stay grounded. I mean, it all has to, at the end of the day, it all has to balance out, right? You're you're high strung, you got a lot of stress, you got a lot of things going on, but then you kind of like wind things down, take a weekend off at the cottage, or, enjoy some time with friends and family, maybe even go away.
What does your downtime look like? Are you like to be around people? Are you a thinker? Do you reflect? Like, what works well for you?
I like to be around people.
Yeah.
I see myself as a people person. I've always been that way. Especially, all the extracurricular things we do with the kids. I just.
Oh, okay, so when you say a people person, that can be defined so many different ways. So let's sort of just, you use those words. So what is a people person to you?
Reaching out to people, checking in. I like having a big circle of friends, and they don't even need to be close friends. It's just acquaintances.
Sure.
We were in Montreal this weekend, and I just bumped into some people that, we knew from way back, from years ago, from pre-COVID times. It's just amazing how, and again, I consider those people my circle of friends. And of course, I went up to them. And even though it was maybe 5-6 years since I've seen them last, I still went up to say hi, catch up with whatever time I had to spare at the moment. And it's always nice to bump into people, and that's what I mean by being a people person. I just, I enjoy bumping into people, staying in touch. Things like that.
Well, listen, human-to-human connection, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Right? We're not designed to be alone. We want to be around people.
Yeah.
Right? I'm here today because of a connection. I mean, our worlds got intertwined through hockey. I'm tremendously grateful they did. Mm-hmm. But holy shit, I wouldn't. I don't say I wouldn't, because I cannot predict the future, and I don't know what would have occurred, but I may have never have bumped into you. And that would have been a shame. But the impact that your family has had directly and indirectly on myself, on our family, has been huge. I don't want to divulge all those details, so I'll volley that over to you to share as many details as you choose to. Except that this is this is it. The hockey world, the sports world, the downtimes.
Yeah,
this is where it started.
Yeah. Yeah, it's this week preparing for the podcast, I actually went back into some notes, and I actually went back to one of your emails from way back in the beginning when you introduced yourself as a coach to the team that Sarah, my daughter, played for you. And I went back and I thought, wow, when I first received your email, it was very structured, but it was also compassionate. And I'm thinking, wow, this coach. This is new to us because we met you through boys hockey, which this was Sarah's first year playing boys hockey. And I thought, wow, who is this guy? He just seems so professional, and so it was so interesting how you worded everything, and yet, you put into place what you were looking for and expecting of the kids, but in a compassionate way. And I thought, well, this coach, there's something about him that, it's not your typical run-of-the-mill hockey coach, put it that way. So that was my first impression of you, and also to my daughter, man. It's just how you included her in everything. She went through that injury where she was out for 2 months with a broken ankle, and you still included her in the dressing room, with the boys, and included her in those meetings, in those away tournaments. She was on crutches, but we were there in the bleachers cheering along for our team, right? So, huge connection there, for sure.
Well, thank you. That's touching. And for me, it's just, I got to that. So, Otto, you're listening, and for the audience out there, we're talking U18 athletes, and I'll never forget this because Coach Dom Fortuna, you're amazing. But you had met him before you had met me, because he was there for a pre-skate.
Yeah.
And he called me and said, so there's this female athlete that wants to join the team. And I'm like, okay, cool. And stepping into U18, I didn't know what to expect because it's only coming from younger age groups there. And I became so curious, and that's just what it was. It was U18, that season broke me in so many different ways. It was the coolest season, but it was also the most challenging, because you walk into that change room and you don't know what you don't know until you do. Mm-hmm. Holy shit. And I'm sitting there, going, Sarah, I love her to death, right? You talk to her and you can hear. Just at the time, Sarah, I'm going to divulge this, so thank you. But at the time, there's those limiting beliefs, and it's just like, what are you doing here? Why do you want to be here? Because these guys can be assholes, right? You and I have had many conversations, and I've even seen it, coming to watch some of Sarah's games, but now we also follow women's hockey a lot more intimately. There's a distinctive difference, the way that male athletes play and female athletes play. Yeah. The males bring a sort of, in my opinion, a sense of assertiveness and aggressiveness, and not as much, it's more chaotic at times. It's more chaotic, like what the fuck is going on right now? Where you watch women play hockey and there's systems, there's structure, it's just different. And so I had to play through all this, and I didn't understand this. It was just, thank you for this. Mm-hmm. That's how our worlds intersected, right?
Yeah.
And those tournaments are cool. I just, even having young children, having your family around, having Sarah around, it's role model after role model. So that's what's cool, right?
Yeah, it was nice to have your family there for the tournaments too. I thought that was nice to see your kids kind of involved, with Christian being in the dressing room with the boys and stuff like that. So yeah, it's nice to see. It keeps the group close. Sarah had many positive experiences playing that year. Definitely a lot of experiences, great experiences.
I'm glad.
Yeah. So
bring us into the hockey world, and hockey's been a part of your family for a long time. How does it originate? Bring us to that story.
My dad was a huge hockey fan, Toronto Maple Leafs hockey fan. My brother played hockey growing up. I always watched hockey. I didn't participate in it. I didn't play it. And then when Sarah was old enough, she started showing some interest of playing sports, and we tried soccer and we tried softball, and softball was my thing growing up.
Sure.
And then we ventured off to hockey and thought, is this something that you'd like? I took her out to watch a girls' organized Rising Stars program in Brampton. And I thought, okay, well, let's go check it out. If this is something you want to try, let's try it. And she was 7 at the time, so she wasn't young. She should have been already skating for a couple of years, so it was a little bit late for her to start. But nonetheless, she liked what she saw, and she thought it was the coolest thing, so she wanted to give it a try. And it's funny how we've come full circle, because she's back in Brampton and probably will be ending her minor career in Brampton also. She won't be playing next year. This is her last year playing for Brampton. So this is pretty much where it's going to end for her.
What have you learned through all of this journey, especially when it comes to sport? What have you learned? What has sport taught you?
It really teaches a lot. Values, a lot of loyalty to other families, just being there for the team. And I'm talking about being a parent and bringing Sarah to games. She relies on me to get there, so I have to make sure that, I can get her there in time, and that she doesn't miss any games, so that she's not letting the team down. So there's a lot of ways you can look at what this actually brings to you. But yeah, it's just, there's so much you could take from it.
So what's one thing that you learned about yourself that you didn't know, and now looking back, you say, you know what, if it wasn't for hockey?
Again, it would probably boil down to all the friends that you make in hockey, all the families that you meet. Sometimes you only meet a family for a year, like you become close for a year, and then they end up making a move to another organization, and or we choose to make a move to another organization, and you meet these people, and then it circles back, and you see them, like just like last weekend I bumped into a few families, and actually one family from our boys team was there too.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's cool. And that's the impact. There it is.
Yeah.
You know, human beings, right? We're drawn to communities, whether it's a sport, whether it's something. And you know, I was sort of talking about this a little bit before we started pushing record here. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we separate sport, personal, business, and yet to me it's all intertwined, right?
Mm-hmm. It is.
I mean, I see you nodding. So what are your thoughts with sport to business?
It is all intertwined. If my dad wasn't a huge hockey fan, my brother wouldn't have played hockey. If my brother wouldn't have played hockey, I wouldn't have been involved in watching hockey. I might have not been interested and might have not even gone down this path, right? Which would mean I wouldn't have met you. So I mean, it's how life goes, right? It's the journey in life that you have so many roads that you could take, and it's funny how it just kind of goes that way.
Well, thank you. Okay, so can we go back? I want to go back to something then. Mm-hmm. So, right, our worlds intersected through boys hockey, and it was an honor and a pleasure to have Sarah on that team. So after, what do you see between girls and boys hockeys and like intersections, what? You've been in the female side of things for so long. Mm-hmm. You get injected for a season, which still blows my freaking mind. And it takes a lot of courage and bravery to do so. To jump into a season at U18 is just ridiculous. It's cool. Mm-hmm. You step away from that. What do you learn? Like, as far as, let's just start there. I don't want to stack too many questions.
Well, there was a huge learning curve with the boys hockey. We took it as a fun experience. And that's the way Sarah took it also. It was more of like a good time as opposed to high stress and just the competitiveness. Sarah knew that going into playing boys hockey was just going to be a fun thing. She would make new friends. And I think I've mentioned this to you before. Sarah doesn't go to school in the area, so she doesn't know any of the kids in our neighborhood. So having played with boys in Nobleton is just gives her that opportunity to make some friends within the area. And that was her big thing, is like, let me see what's out there. Let's try boys hockey. I said, you sure you want to try this? And, juggling the boys hockey and the girls hockey at times was difficult. Girls hockey took the priority, obviously, mm-hmm. because it is competitive, and her coach wouldn't allow her to miss anything. So it was hard to juggle at times, but I mean, I think for the most part, it was just a fun time from the experiences that she had.
Okay, so what do we take from our experiences in boys hockey and inject into girls hockey, and vice versa from girls hockey into boys hockey?
They're very different. They're very different. First of all, the level of that Sarah was playing with you, it's competitive, but in a way that it's more recreational than competitive, sure. Right? Yeah. Where in girls hockey, it's all business. Like it's almost like, and I've told her this before, it's like your job. You need to show up, you need to work hard, and you need to get the job done. Now, development-wise is so different. Coaching-wise is so different. For girls hockey, coaches need to be a little more sensitive with the way they approach things and the way they speak to girls. In boys hockey, you could just be a little more blunt and just if they did something wrong, call them out on it. In girls hockey, you kind of like, you did something wrong, but maybe next time the way you deliver the message needs to be a little bit more appropriate or gentle or just compassionate.
There's a word that comes to mind. Can I shoot it out?
Yeah.
Empathy. Is there? Am I reading into it? You're saying like empathy, or is that the right word? What do you mean like you said? Well, actually, you said the word compassionate. So what does that mean?
You know what? And I've noticed it this weekend, especially playing in a tournament with the girls. I'm on the bench as a trainer with the girls, and I see it a lot. And when stress gets really high,
sure,
our girls become emotional.
Oh,
yeah, they're like almost like they're taking the blame on themselves. They're second guessing themselves.
Sure.
Like they go to practice, they do wonderful, they do everything they're supposed to do, but then now come to game time, they just can't deliver what they've been practicing. And a lot of them are getting frustrated. And, you know, as a trainer, I see that and I see the breakdown, and I said, you know what, you can't be thinking that way. You need to remain positive, go out, do what what you've been taught to do. And don't listen to the noise. Sometimes you're hearing parents from the crowd pass, or, you know, they're yelling out things that the girls already know that they need to do, and they're just getting frustrated. So I'm seeing a lot of breaking down on the bench, and I didn't notice that with boys hockey, and I could be wrong. It's just I take what I've learned from seeing the girls and being compassionate as a coach, understanding and seeing that, delivering a message differently would be beneficial anyway. It would definitely help the girls understand. And it's about understanding so that they can do better next time.
This is huge, right? Because we're talking sport, yet my mind is like, this is life.
Yeah.
This is fucking life.
Yeah.
Understanding taking a temperature reading of what's going on in front of us allows us to show up for human beings, right? So whether it's on a bench, in a sports room, in a boardroom, in a plant, it doesn't matter. Right. There's something else going on, but you're vividly describing breakdowns. So what do we do next? And does it occur in boys? Of course, the answer is yes, it does. Does it show up differently? Sure. It shows up assertiveness, aggressiveness, breakdowns, sure. And it's not about the breakdowns, folks. I mean, it's how do we pivot past it? Like so what, now what? Yeah,
and I see it a lot through coaches, the coaches that Sarah has had over the years. And it's funny how it started with Sarah playing competitive hockey. Her very first coach was a non-parent coach, but he didn't have a family. So he was 30-something. Very structured. He kind of like had his own hockey school, but zero compassion for the kids, like zero. And, you know, girls would mess up and they would cry and they would be upset, not knowing what they did wrong. Now they're being benched, and these are like 10-year-old girls, right? They're being benched. They're not given playing time because they've made a mistake, or they're not the strongest skater, or they're, you know, on a power play and they're not going to play that shift. And they read into that differently, where now the coach should come in and say, you know what, you're going on the next line. Let's just kill this penalty and move on, right? But he wouldn't do that. So I saw that as a flaw in girls hockey, because coaches could be so much better if they only knew. But being that this was a paid coach and he didn't have a family, like he didn't have kids, he didn't quite understand the concept of, you know, dealing with these 8 to 10-year-olds and how he's affecting their play, the outcome on the ice, and their emotional state, right?
You struck a trigger for me. Like, this is it, right?
And it starts at a young age,
fucking talking 10-year-old athletes.
Yeah.
How often does this happen? And folks out there who it's going to piss off, then fucking give your head a shake and listen up. Because how many times you go to a tryout and all of a sudden kid gets cut? There's no follow-up.
Yeah.
Hey, Jonathan, as an athlete, you're almost there. If you just work on your edge, just give me some sort of reasons. And then you know what happens is these same athletes, I'm no expert in this regard. I'm hypothesizing, but these same human beings, the athletes, end up in the workforce, and same thing happens. We don't get any feedback. Well, you screwed up, we're firing you, or something's happening, or and there's no de-escalation, there's no decommissioning, there's no lessons learned opportunities, right? Or what happens even worse is somebody pisses somebody off, and then now, what's today's society? They ghost you, right? They just, I don't know what happened to this person. And something else is happening in the background, right?
Yeah.
This is the shit that I'm talking about, because this is the part the part that rocked me the most. I'm gonna go back to U18 athletes, right? I walk in the first day, I'm like, holy shit, guys, right? I'm not here to fucking tell you how to play hockey. You all know how to play hockey. Your skill set is there. You've played at competitive levels. You outweigh me probably by 50 pounds on average. I'm not going to teach you anything from a skill set standpoint. It doesn't start there, though, right? But we're conditioned in a society to say, you're an idiot, move on. Thank you. I just had to go on. It set a trigger off for me, right?
Yeah, and I can elaborate a little bit on that too, with an experience that we had. Again, when the girls were about 10 years old, there was another girl on the team that she felt she just couldn't do anything right. She couldn't please the coach. Everything that she did was always wrong. Her positioning on the ice was wrong, and her mom came to me frustrated and was like, how do we fix this? What can we do to fix this? And I was a manager at the time. I wasn't a trainer, but I was watching all this unfold. And I told the mom, I said, you know what? I think what would best suit your child is maybe finding a coach next year or a team next year, and that coach be more of a father figure, to be a little more compassionate with the issues your daughter is having on the ice, just to kind of, so she understands what she's doing wrong. And again, just going back to what the coach's way of doing things was just, bench her. She's not doing it right. We'll deal with it in practice. And that went on and on for a couple of years until basically COVID hit, and then just the team dissolved. But it's just so many.
What happens to this human being? What happens to this athlete?
She ended up quitting.
Yeah. So we lost a great athlete potentially.
Yeah. I think she was a great athlete. But yeah, it's unfortunate. And a lot of people will say, no, hockey is a tough sport. You have to be tough. You have to be mentally tough. You can't, girls hockey, we baby them too much, but they're just it's just different dealing with girls, it's which way is right, which way is wrong. I don't know. I can't tell you. I'm not a professional and I haven't studied that, but from what I see, it's just a huge difference.
Which shows that for me, it gets down to boundaries and expectations, right? Here's the boundaries, folks. Here's the expectations, right? We lived it. We did it. I mean, the shit that you learn inside the sporting world, like when we're talking outside the glitz, the glamour, all that shit, inside those walls, the stuff that you learn, and everybody who's in athletics, it's dark at times.
Yeah.
It's dirty. It's disrespectful. So how do you pivot through that? I mean, for me, we set the boundaries and expectations and then work within that. Because the opposite, if we do nothing, the probable almost certain future is going to occur. That athlete we're going to, I don't ever want to say this, but we're either going to lose them from this earth, or we're going to lose them in the sport, or we're just going to fuck them up for life.
Yeah.
Because they won't know how to deal with it. Because you hit the post and you have somebody yelling at you, you're an idiot for hitting the post, man. Keep shooting. What if you reframe and say, holy shit, 2 inches over, it's in the back of the net. So keep going.
Right.
Anyhow, thank you for sharing all this.
Yeah.
To me, it pulls on the heartstrings when we talk about sport, because sport for me is life. And not because I'm any avid sport guru. No, not at all. I simply see a connection in sport that if we extrapolate what we learn in sport and what our pitfalls are and what our errors are.
Yeah.
How do things change?
Well, these are things, well, it's true. But everything that we do learn in sport carries through for us in adulthood, right? I'm hoping Sarah will, I shouldn't even say hoping. I know that Sarah will excel in what she does, and it will reflect everything that she's learned and taken away from hockey, playing so many years competitively. And that's what we hope as parents, right? When kids are playing competitive sports, it just teaches them so much. It just teaches them to be better people, how to deal with other people, how to deal with conflict, right? These are all things that you learn as a team. You win together, you lose together. And that's just, life lessons will be like the same situations.
Yeah, and shit's going to go sideways. We promise you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It always goes sideways.
It does.
How do we recover? What do we do next? Right? We all make mistakes. There's so many. If I look at that U18 team, there was a boatload. But you just show up. Like, I promise you, we're gonna make mistakes this year. I guarantee that. Mm-hmm. What do we do next? Right? I just pause because I get on rants, especially with the U18 team, because if situations were different, I think I would still be doing it because of what I just took away from that season. And that was the hardest season ever because it was the most challenging. It was the most exciting. It was, step into the room and you're like, holy shit. When you look into somebody's eyes and you learn what's actually going on behind them, and then you're like, holy fuck. How do things, you just show up differently. You show up differently. And you take that into life. You take that into business. There's always something else. This guy just punched the guy in the fucking head. Why? There's something else going on.
Yeah.
Right? He's punching the other guy in the head because, you know what? He's taking a stand for something else he believes in because something else, right?
Right.
And I'm curious because, so Sarah's on her last year of hockey. Cool. Mm-hmm. And that's exciting.
Yeah.
Yet you have found a way to stay injected into the hockey world. So tell us about that journey.
Yeah. I heard about an opportunity in King, and I thought I'd jump on it. I do want to stay in hockey. When Sarah is done, I kind of want, and I'm doing it also as a model just to show her that there's more to it than playing hockey. Just being involved. I volunteered to be part of the board members of the King Rebellion Junior A team.
Okay.
Just as an administrator, just to help out wherever I can. It will grow into something more. And I just, I don't know. I feel that once Sarah stops playing hockey, then what do I do? I put all these years into learning the sport and learning all behind the scenes and what happens. It's just a shame just to, hang up skates and call it a day. I know that's what Sarah wants. She basically just wants to hang up the skates and focus on her studies and her future career. But I just kind of need to stay in it a little bit longer and see if there's anything in it for me. Just to, as support, to watch the sport grow within the community. And on that note, too, King is also launching a girls and women's league, which is exciting to see some growth there for women's hockey. Canlan, I believe, is coming out with something in supporting girls in sport. It's also a committee, which I've signed up for. I'm waiting to hear a little bit more on that. So just, staying within hockey, especially promoting girls hockey, the growth of girls hockey, giving them options to stay in the sport. If Sarah's situation too, going back a couple years ago, she had a bit of a mental breakdown and she wanted to quit. And something just affected her so badly that she just didn't want any part of hockey anymore. And sometimes just reevaluating the situation, and we basically dropped her down to a lower level to make it a little bit more fun for her. It's not as competitive. It's not as demanding, to give her more of a bit of a social life too. That's what we had to do and I see that as an opportunity with my experience to maybe help others to see if there is, keeping girls in sport committee. Maybe there's something I can help out or something I can do to make a change.
Okay, you said a lot there. I want to unpack some of that.
Yeah, sure.
Can we go back
Yeah.
and share as much as you want to share? But when you talk about that mental breakdown that occurs with Sarah, what happens that turns her off of sport so much, and how do you know when to pivot? It's that question, but this is huge.
Tons of layers, different elements. COVID hit.
Sure.
Sarah didn't have a spot on a team. With COVID, everything shut down. She worked on skill development in between. Finally, she found a spot in Brampton on a AA team, which is a tier 1 in girls hockey. She loved the team, made lifelong friends. Then this team ended up dissolving and moving to another organization. Sarah ended up going a different direction to Markham and found a spot there with U18 AA. The coach was very old school, very demanding, very strict. I don't know if that could have been a cause or a reason for the mental break, but everything combined put a lot of pressure on her, school, relationships, possibly even social media. Like there's a ton of garbage out there. She became very, I shouldn't say twisted, but if I take a step back and I look at her personality the way it was then,
Sure.
there was a lot of things that impacted her that maybe twisted her reasoning. So something happened there where, and I don't know if it was coach related or teammates, but the end of that year playing U18 AA, she had a spot on the team for next year, which was the same, but a new coach was coming in. This one was retiring. But she ended up we already committed to that team, and then she had this mental breakdown, and she was done. She didn't want to play anymore. And something really, I still to this day have a lot of questions, but not many answers.
What does done mean? What do you actually see as a parent? Because it's got to be heartbreaking.
She never really told me that she was done, but it was through other manners that she implied that she didn't want to play hockey anymore. That passion wasn't there anymore. The drive, she just lost the excitement, lost the happiness.
Is this in life, or is this in sport, or just both?
Both.
So you see this occurring slowly.
Oh, yeah.
And this goes on for how long?
I would say about a year.
Holy shit.
Yeah, there was depression involved. There was episodes of crying for no reason. Just, she'd be at practice and all of a sudden just, not engaged anymore in being there. Body language, like you see it. But yeah, it's part of life.
So you saw this as a shift as a parent. Did others around notice this as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What kind of support is there? What happens next?
Well, it became very ugly before it got better. Put it that way. She had to be hospitalized for the mental breakdown she was having, and then basically we got supports and for her through school, through social workers. We basically explained to her that, and this was done through other means too, like through social workers, that she's invested so much time and so much effort into hockey, into being a hockey player. That's all she knows. That she can't give it up. It's just, and for me as a parent, I couldn't give her that option just to give it up. And maybe that's cruel in a way because, if she really feels she doesn't belong or doesn't enjoy it anymore, why am I forcing it upon her? But it's more like a life lesson to not give up on something that you worked so hard to do. So I just wanted her to know that, you're so close to the finish line. You're almost done playing hockey. You play until you're 18 and then decide where you want to go. Girls have the option to play U22. So if it ever comes that she quits this year and misses it enough that she wants to come back, she can do so.
Hang on a second. So she's 15, 16 at this time?
15, yeah.
She's 15 at this time.
Yeah.
She's going through this for a year.
Yeah.
I don't want to even imagine what it's like to go through as a family. I can dread it having, an 8-year-old. She's 8. Sandra's 8. Having an 8-year-old at home, and these are sort of scary years. Yeah. What do you share with other folks out there that you know today that you didn't know then?
Just listen more. Listen to what's going on in life, in their life, as opposed to just kind of watching. Like sitting back and taking the watch approach is fine in most cases, but in my case, I really had to tune in and listen to what's going on. I was getting messages from from teachers at school, from her friends. Her friends were messaging me on social media saying, "Hey, what's going on with Sarah? She seems like she's really down. She's really going through something, and I just wanted you to know."
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So, and a lot of time, and it happened a couple of times where, teachers are messaging me, "Hey, listen, this is a link for some help if Sarah needs it." And Sarah, she's the type of person that she did ask for help. She would reach out to whoever she trusted at school, whether it be a coach or a principal or an English teacher was another option too. But she did reach out. She knew there was a problem. I don't think she knew how to deal with it. And unfortunately, like I said, it got a lot worse before it got better.
So even though this journey here, something's occurring, and it probably takes months to realize it, or you realize it. You're looking for so the support is there, but it's still not enough to create a tipping point. Is that accurate?
Yeah. The tipping point was where she needed to be hospitalized.
What happens next?
She was in the hospital for 5 days. It was just before Easter. She was actually let out on Good Friday. They worked with her and they peeled back all the layers to find out what was, causing all this and how to handle these pressures and how to handle the anxiety when it hits, recognizing that, something's wrong and to seek help.
So you were present. You saw this. Thank goodness you did, right? Just thank goodness you did. Like I met Sarah because of that. But you're going through this anxiety. How are you handling it all? Because you didn't know what to do.
No, I had no idea. Never imagined I had to deal with something like this.
Sure.
Opened my eyes as a parent, and for my husband too.
How so?
Yeah, it's Sarah has the type of character where you'd never expect something like this. I never imagined in a million years that, you know, my kid would be dealing with depression or suicidal thoughts.
Sure.
And yeah, it's just when I look back, it seems like it was all a nightmare. Like it wasn't real. It's but how did we deal with it? It was day to day, close supervision, making sure she's content, making sure she's getting what she needs, not overlooking anything, kind of like combing through any fine details to make sure that if there is an issue, it's being addressed with school, with friends, social media. Like there was so many things that we implemented to help her along the way. The first 6 months after being released from the hospital was very trying time. Like we really had to be on her so that she wouldn't go back to those feelings.
Okay.
And we made a lot of progress. It was all positive. And like I said, with her school and all that, she got a lot of support and from her social worker. And she was just able to grow from that, be a better person. And she's like today, she's in a much better place mentally.
What's it like for you? It's got to be exhausting. Like you're giving all of yourself to your kids and there's nothing left for you. You're depleted.
That's parenthood. You know.
What did you learn of yourself going through all that?
Strength. Like I have to be strong. There's no other option. Showing my kids that I'm strong gives them kind of like a shoulder to lean on, and my husband too. I mean, like together we were able to conquer this and get past it. My older daughter too was very supportive in all of this, and being that she's the older sister, you know, offered Sarah comfort and anytime she needed, you know, to talk or communicate, she was there. So it's all a family thing. You got to be there for one another.
Assumption coming your way. We all have self-limiting beliefs, right? So you're going through all this. How are you pivoting through it yourself? Like, what are you doing? I'm sure there's self-sabotaging mechanisms that come in. There's limiting beliefs. There's just, it fucking kicks the shit out of you. Mm-hmm. What do you say to somebody who's dealing with it? Because I want to talk on it. I think it's worth touching on two aspects of it right now. First of all, as a parent and as a human being supporting somebody going through that, because we're here today talking about a good news story that we've recovered. And much of it is because of the strength that you describe as parents, as a family.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just, it's, was there anything that you leaned into that helped you tremendously more than something else that might be worth sharing?
Not really. It was just more of taking it a day at a time.
So not overthinking things.
Yeah, it's you can only control so much.
Yeah.
It's, you know what, it all boils down to that. It's being in control of what you can control, right?
I love this because this is how the conversation started with, especially with business. Is like, we don't, first of all, don't overthink things.
Yeah.
Right? Deal with what's in front of you, and you can't control what you can't control.
Yeah.
I can't control how Sarah's going to show up today, but what I can control is what kind of energy do I demonstrate when I'm with her?
Yeah.
What kind of support can I demonstrate around her? Right? I might feel like a bag of potatoes and find that last ounce of energy to show up for her.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So I want to come back to this. Thank you for sharing all that. And this started with hockey. So going through all this, and then she just says, well, did she say I'm done? No, you said she never said I'm really done. She just, the effort level, things dropped off.
Yeah, I think she was too afraid to bring that to our attention that she was done with hockey. She was too afraid, and it could all be intertwined with the reason of depression and the suicidal thoughts. And she knew hockey was life, hockey was our family, everything revolved around hockey. And I think she was just, my assumption would be that she was scared to tell us that. And I only learned that through the counseling meetings at the hospital, that, she wasn't happy where she was. So
how does that show up in sport though? How does it show up on the ice? Did you see a difference of play, a difference of athletics? Did she find a way to shut that out? I'm curious I'm curious for any folks out there if they might notice something that you noticed.
It's body language. That is what I noticed. She was basically just going through the motion of everything. There wasn't intent. Like, she was on the ice, but you could see that she was just on the ice. There was no thought process in it. There was nothing behind it that showed the passion, right? But also keep in mind, this all unfolded just at the end of the season. Whereas like the March break time is pretty much when things get wrapped up with hockey. And so she, like I said, she was starting with a new team. I think she ended up going to 1 or 2 tryouts even with that team. And then everything just went sideways from there.
So is that to say this didn't really impact hockey too much because hockey was in a transition stage?
It was in the transition stage. It didn't.
The hockey world would not have even noticed?
Yeah. Like her coach from that time, he wouldn't have known. If I were to see him today and tell him what transpired right after she was done playing for his team, he wouldn't have known.
Okay, so now I'm curious, right? I want to hang out in this space for a little bit more. You're on hyper-awareness as a parent, right? Because all this shit's happening. Right? You get new information and you start processing it without overthinking it. And, again, you've identified, hey, control what I can control. Yeah. Is there questions that when you have a tough question, is there something that goes through your mind and say, how do I analyze this? Do you ask yourself tough questions?
Well, there's always tough questions and tough situations. But I mean, when you're dealing with a tough question, you kind of have to dissect it in a way that understanding it better and moving forward with an answer, right? Something that's going to reflect what you believe in and what you want to see happen. Okay,
so now I've got a tough, I guess I didn't frame that properly, but if I've got a tough situation, what questions do you ask yourself to dig for a response?
How will the outcome affect myself? How will it affect my family or the people around me? Again, just dissecting that question to see what the outcome would be, dealing it one way versus another.
Thank you for all this. Like, there's so much more. Right, hanging out in this space, like what can we? You talked about, and I don't know the correlation, but I wanted to bring it all together because you talk about what Sarah went through. Mm-hmm. You talk about where you are today within the hockey world, and I think that there's an interplay here, and I'm not sure what it is, but there's an interplay here of the sporting world. You want to stay involved, so we pivoted a little bit, but you kind of. I think you illuminated a couple of touch points, but what is, if I actually sort of really peeled back layers and got to the overarching thing that wants to keep you connected to hockey, how do you succinctly describe that? What is it for you that's the driving force of why you're there?
My experiences in girls hockey, it's just fulfilling to know that, you're there supporting girls.
Sure.
And I want to just keep doing that. knowing that, girls already kind of have that, being that hockey is more of a boys' sport, so to speak. Girls already go into the sport, with not being as good as boys, or, you play girls hockey versus boys hockey, and just, being a support, I think is kind of where I would like to be, whether it be within an organization or just like a committee of some sort, just to kind of like provide assistance or provide a way to bring girls together, to keep them in hockey and sport. Whereas if that wasn't there, it'd be so easy for them to just to quit.
There it is. I want to keep girls connected to the sport as long as humanly possible.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Because you're living it. Like, what happens next?
Yeah.
So how do we tie in the mental emotional component more into sport? Because for me, it feels like a big piece that's missing. And that's my opinion. Yeah, it could be accurate or inaccurate. That's just, the story I'm telling myself is that the mental emotional side of the mental emotional side is not in sport as much as it could be. Mm-hmm. That's the story I tell myself.
Yeah. I'd have to agree with that, because what I think and what I see it boiling down to is the compassionate component. Just staff on a team, including myself as bench staff, as a trainer, having that emotional connection, that compassion, making the girls feel comfortable that, they could come to me if they need to. For whatever reason, an injury they obtained outside of hockey. I have girls on the team that play flag football, rugby, lacrosse.
Yeah.
And they come to practice. Oh, my neck is sore today. I got whiplash from whatever reason. And then, assessing them, and they might be afraid to tell the coach that, because now that they're not able to perform 100%. Why? Because they were playing a sport outside their competitive sport. Whereas, competitive hockey in Sarah's case, like, you have to be 100% in. And sometimes playing another sport just causes conflict.
Yeah.
And now you're going to be letting the team down because now you missed a couple games because you injured yourself elsewhere, right? So just being that support that they can come to me and whatever. And if it's an injury or if it's something else, like, just that's what I'm there for. I'm in the dressing room with the girls, they know that they can come to me. I have that relationship with them and I want them to feel comfortable. So I build that relationship with them just to keep them from, hiding whatever from the coach. This
is beautiful, right? Because when we talk sport or we talk business, it's the same shit, right? How many folks hide stuff to say, I can't tell my boss that, I hurt myself on the weekend, because he's gonna say, what the fuck are you doing that for? You're supposed to work here. I need you to show up, on and on and on. And the stories and the narratives and the stories that go through people's heads is just utterly ridiculous without asking questions to seek more. And you're talking about connecting with athletes to say, look, shit happens. Life's going to occur. Mm-hmm. I don't need to tell you made a mistake. Like, if something happens, it happens.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Goes back to that can't control what you can't control.
Yep.
Right?
And these are kids in high school. They want to experience, varsity sports, lacrosse and flag football and whatnot. So, and you can't deprive them of that. They want to try, but now the risk of being injured or, something occurring from that could, now be a problem for the competitive sport.
Yeah. Thank you. I love this because, again, whether we talk a coach in a sporting environment or a leader or in a business environment, mm-hmm. what we're talking about is creating psychological safety. We're talking about leading with empathy. We're talking about showing up for others because we're human beings, mm-hmm. right? And when you connect, that's when sports teams thrive. Yeah. Right? And that's when that's how we condition folks for the shitty times.
Right.
How many shitty times, I think of our U18, how many shitty moments did we have? A ton of shitty moments. Doesn't define who we are. It's a failed performance, folks. It doesn't shape the future. Mm-hmm. It's empty and meaningless if you allow it to be within 24 hours. Move the fuck on.
Right.
Right? And let's not get hung up. And again, with the boundaries and expectations of let's not overly incubate ourselves with too much. Maybe the word compassion shows up, but what that means is we still have a job to do. We're still here to perform. We're still here for the right reasons. Right? So shit's going to occur. We control what we can control. We can't control what we can't control. What we do, we have full autonomy and availability to choose how we show up next. Fuck, so what, man? Mm-hmm. So what? And when I understand what's going on in Sarah's world, and I understand what's going on in, this person's world and this person's world, well, you can curate boundaries and tolerances within that realm. Mm-hmm. Anyhow, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, like everybody has a story, everybody has an experience that they're dealing with, and you don't know what people are dealing with, right? Until, like you said, you get into their world.
People want to share. You have to allow them the opportunity to do so. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
You shared what you shared about Sarah, which is so humbling, and thank you, because it resonated not only with me, but it resonated with a whole bunch of others, that it's fucking shitty.
Yep.
And doesn't define who you are as a human being, doesn't define who Sarah is as a human being, doesn't define who she is as an athlete. It's a moment in time. Mm-hmm. And we've just unpacked and said, listen, can't do this alone. You talked about the resources around.
Yeah.
Anyhow, thank you. I want to come back to you because you've been so generous to talk about your family and hockey and everything else. But I really want to dig into you. So a couple of questions coming your way. If you can think back in the past 5 years, especially, it's been a very interesting 5 years for all of us. Is there a habit, ritual, routine, something you've dug into or learned of yourself that's helped you?
Yes. Taking us back 5 years is close to the COVID time. We made me and my husband, when I say we took it upon ourselves to look after our health a little bit more. Now we had some time during COVID. We had to shut down the business for a month due to the closures of COVID. So we decided, hey, let's exercise, let's eat healthy, let's use this time to better ourselves. So that's something that my husband and I we try to exercise daily and look after ourselves, and it's a ritual that's followed through anyway.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So
move your body, folks.
Yeah.
To some regard.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. So inspiration now, right? There's certain things in life that inspire us, that cause us to take some action, human beings, idols, whatever you want to call them. In your world, mm-hmm. Can you think of somebody you admire?
I admire, it would boil down to my family, my parents for bringing me up to be the person I am today. I inspire my kids. I learn something new from them every day, from both of them. Yeah, I mean, like the inspirations keep going and going. It's hard to pin down one, but I guess it started with my parents, my dad specifically. Yeah, he was. We were very tight. Yeah, just kind of goes from there.
How does that inspire you to act, though? Right. So you talk about your dad.
My dad passed away in 2005, so he was 62. I was 30. It kind of taught me to live life to its fullest because you don't know what's coming, right? Sometimes we think, oh, we'll do it another time. We won't travel this year because we have this, and this going on. But we need to kind of realize that we don't always have time. And if there is something that we want to do, we should really do it. Because, you never know what tomorrow's going to bring, right? And that's just something that, my dad was, he was a hard worker, and he was the one that started the business and got it up and running, tireless weekends, weeknights. He would work right through holidays to get jobs delivered on time.
Sure.
In the early stages, it was, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, right? And in a way, when he passed at the age of 62, yes, he lived a comfortable life. Yes, he was happy. Unfortunately, though, he didn't get to see, the fruits of his labor. Like, he didn't get to spend 2 months in Florida or in Mexico or wherever, right? And kind of like retire. He never retired, right? He worked straight through. So just seeing that kind of allows me to step back and say, you know what, how could we enjoy life and just not fall into a trap where we're stuck working so much and not enjoying life, right?
I got it. Thank you. And that's a tremendously huge guiding beacon for you to say, like, 62 is far too young.
Yeah.
And the way you just described that, it's resonating so deep with me. It's just like, holy shit, we don't know. We hear it.
Yeah.
We hear it, and it never, I don't want to say never lands. There's times it doesn't land until it does.
Yeah.
And, you've clearly identified this is it. Like, if not now, when? If not me, then who? Mm-hmm. So what the hell are we waiting for?
Right.
Thank you for this. So I think this is actually very interesting and pivots right into it. So then I'm going to ask you this question. If you could find out the day you would die, would you?
Probably not.
No?
No, I don't think so.
Does it change things for you to know or not know?
I guess it would. But, living life with intent is better than living life out of the quantity of days you have left.
Ooh.
Right? Okay, now if you're telling me I'm going to die next year, okay, so I have 365 days or whatever, 200 days left to live. I have so much on my agenda to take care of, but no, it's I don't know. I don't think it's realistic. I think it's better to live life with intent, and the people you meet along the way there's a purpose for them for coming into your life, and I don't know, just kind of enjoy it day by day.
Thank you. I love that. It resonates so deep. You said so many things. People come into our lives for a reason. Mm-hmm. Sometimes for a season, but they're there for a reason.
Yeah.
Right? And at the end of it all, intent. What's the legacy you want to leave behind? The day of your funeral, I don't give a shit how many widgets, gizzards, gadgets, fucking bullshit you've obtained. Who are you as a human being?
Take nothing with you. So
what do you want? How do you want people to remember you?
Yeah.
And you just identified that. I love that. Never thought of it that way until I did. So that could be 100 days. If the intent's not there, what are we doing this for?
Yeah, exactly.
Nancy, pleasure. I don't want to end it on that note. I want to end it on a couple of fun notes. So a couple of random questions coming your way. Rapid fire.
Okay.
Fill in the blanks. Construction needs more of what?
It's hard to really answer that question. I'm almost in the pre-construction sector.
Sure.
So we manufacture the windows, but I'm not on the job site, so I don't really see what goes on there.
But without you, the industry doesn't survive. So from your perspective, from your realm, through your window pane, play on words there. But
it's just I don't know. What does construction world need? Yeah, that's a tough one. I don't.
Okay, we'll pass that one.
Yeah, I'm not sure I have a proper answer for that one.
How about youth athletes need more? I think it's fitting we touched on youth athletics. So youth athletes need more.
I think the youth athletes could always use more funding. That's something that we didn't really talk about, but there's always room for funding where you could bring in professionals.
Fuck yeah.
And it's not always about developments or skills or anything like that. It's more of the background things, the team bonding. Just I think funding is our biggest challenge in any sport. There's always fundraisers that need to happen to do an away tournament or take a bus and go to up north or whatever the case may be. So I think funding is huge, and I think that's probably what the youth teams actually need.
Thank you. Yeah, it's interesting that resonated. So, well, then let's just holistically tie this all back together. Mm-hmm. Human beings would thrive thrive more if, I guess.
Understanding people around us, understanding what people go through, what people need. There's just so many elements that. Oh gosh,
yeah. There it is, right?
Yeah.
Compassion. You talked about it earlier on.
I mean, if we did half the things that, we'd be so much better off. Like if we all contributed compassion on a daily basis, like our world would be in such a better state than it is now.
Thank you, Nancy. You've touched, moved, and inspired me in so many different ways. I can't thank you enough for that. It's an honor and a pleasure to share space with you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And you've resonated with some folks out there. So how do people get in touch with you? Because you've experienced some things in life that if you can help somebody along the way, I know you're more than happy to. Mm-hmm. How can they reach out to you to say, fuck, Nancy, what do I do next?
I have social media platforms. I have my business email, phone number, contact information. Yeah, whatever you need, you can reach out, definitely.
Yeah, because you know what? You shared so much, and there's lots of people out there who are going through it, and maybe they don't know how to deal with it. Mm-hmm. So, thank you. I'm tremendously honored and grateful. It's a pleasure to have you here. It's a pleasure to have this conversation, and I think there's a lot more space that needs to be held to do these to have these conversations. Mm-hmm. So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. The opportunity was fantastic being here too.